It sounds quite strange that the two countries now determined to wipe each other off the map were once the closest of friends. Yes, we are talking about Iran and Israel. This was no ordinary friendship. The leaders of both countries used to meet in secret. They exchanged gifts and even signed secret agreements. Their friendship was often held up as an example for others. There is a lot to talk about, but the most surprising fact is that the very nuclear program being criticized today was originally gifted to Iran by Israel and the United States.
But how did that happen? At what point did Iran and Israel become friends? Who was jealous of this friendship? Why were weapons purchased from Israel even during Ayatollah's regime? And what was the turning point when this deep friendship turned into bitter hostility? Welcome once again to Noble's Creation.
Viewers, to understand the roots of this friendship, we need to go back to a time when the Middle East looked completely different. Back then, the region was ruled by the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire collapsed in 1922 after World War I. Britain then took control of the region, and Arab nationalism began to rise. The Arabs had only recently gained freedom from Ottoman rule and wanted to establish independent states of their own. In fact, one of the reasons the Ottoman Empire lost World War I was that many Arabs secretly supported the British. They did so because they had been promised that after independence, they would be allowed to establish their own countries. But besides the British and the Arabs, there was another major power in the region that had serious concerns about Arab nationalism. That country was Iran. At that time, Iran was a powerful nation, and many Iranians considered the Arabs to be inferior. The Shah of Iran believed that if all the Arab countries united, they could become a threat to Iran. First, Iran's dominance over the Persian Gulf would be weakened. This was because the Arabs had already begun calling it the Arabian Gulf instead of the Persian Gulf. Second, the majority of Iran's population was Shia Muslim, while the Arabs were mostly Sunni Muslims. Although both groups are Muslims, history has shown that there has always been a silent rivalry between them over who would represent Islam. The Shah of Iran, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, feared that Sunni influence might spread into Iran and eventually cost him his throne. But little did anyone know that Iran, which was becoming increasingly isolated in the Middle East, was about to find an extraordinary friend. Then came the historic year of 1948. Following the announcement by the United Nations, the State of Israel was established. As soon as Israel was created, the neighboring Arab countries believed that the Palestinians had been treated unfairly, so they attacked Israel. While this war threatened Israel's very existence, it also gave the Shah of Iran an opportunity to free himself from Arab pressure. In reality, Iran had far less of a problem with the State of Israel than it did with the growing influence of the Arab countries.
So, while the Arabs were fighting Israel in support of the Palestinian cause, Iran was leaning toward Israel. On the other hand, Israel also realized that it needed non-Arab allies among the hostile neighbors surrounding it.
As a result, Israel's first prime minister, David Ben-Gurion, developed a strategic policy known as the Periphery Doctrine. He believed that because Israel was a small state surrounded on all sides by Arab countries, it needed to build friendships with the neighbors of its enemies. And on the map, the largest and most important neighbor of the Arab world was Iran. This Israeli policy laid the very first foundation for the friendship between Iran and Israel. The first major result of Ben-Gurion's policy appeared in 1950. After Turkey, Iran became the second Muslim-majority country to recognize Israel de facto. Through the Swiss government, Iran sent Israel a formal letter that not only acknowledged Israel, but also offered friendship. This was not an official de jure recognition. Instead, it was a secret agreement that everyone knew about. In other words, it was an open secret. The world believed that Iran did not recognize Israel.
But in reality, the Shah of Iran allowed Israel to open a mission in Tehran. A large Israeli office was established in Tehran that operated much like an embassy. However, there was neither an Israeli flag outside the building nor the word embassy displayed on it. People knew it was Israel's mission, but officially it was referred to as the Israeli Trade Office, or at times by another name. Before we look at how Iran and Israel supported each other on different occasions, let's first understand why the Shah of Iran, despite ruling a Muslim country, chose to side with Israel.
There were three main reasons behind this decision. The Shah wanted to strengthen his monarchy and transform Iran into a modern, powerful, industrial state. To achieve this, he needed advanced technology and expertise, which Israel was able to provide. Second, the Shah feared Egypt's leader, Gamal Abdel Nasser, who was championing Arab nationalism. The Shah believed that Iran could become Nasser's next target. This fear pushed him closer to Israel. But the most important reason was the Shah of Iran's close relationship with the United States. In 1953, Iran's Prime Minister, Mohammad Mossad, attempted to reduce the Shah's powers. However, the United States, through the CIA, helped the Shah remain in power and saved his throne. After that event, the Shah felt deeply indebted to the United States and did not want to refuse any of its requests. The United States also wanted Iran and Israel to remain close allies. The Shah feared his own people so much that he created a secret police organization called SAVAK. Its mission was to arrest or eliminate anyone who spoke out against the Shah. You may be surprised to learn that Israel assigned Mossad agents to train SAVAK. It was Mossad that trained SAVAK in surveillance techniques and interrogation methods. Intelligence sharing between SAVAK and Mossad became routine. The two agencies worked together to target communist groups and Arab militant organizations. Not only that, but Iranian Air Force pilots also received training in Israel. Israel supplied Iran with advanced weapons and technology that the Arab world at the time could hardly have imagined. The two countries also collaborated on missile technology. They even signed agreements to conduct research on nuclear weapons technology. The very nuclear program that the United States and Israel oppose today was actually launched with their own assistance. In 1957, U.S. President Dwight Eisenhower launched a campaign called Atoms for Peace. Its goal was to provide America's allies around the world with nuclear technology so they could generate affordable electricity. In 1967, the United States provided Iran with its first nuclear research reactor, which was installed at the University of Tehran. Ironically, it was Israel that trained the Iranian nuclear scientists, who are now being systematically targeted and killed. The friendship between Iran and Israel was not based solely on a military alliance. In fact, the economy was the strongest pillar of their relationship. Israel needed oil, but the Arab countries had imposed an oil boycott against it. Iran, which was Israel's ally, had abundant oil. However, there was no direct route to transport that oil to Israel. If oil tankers attempted to travel from the Persian Gulf through the Red Sea and then pass through the Suez Canal to reach Israel, there was one major problem. The Suez Canal was controlled by Egypt, which stood with the Arab nations. Egypt would never have allowed such shipments to pass. Looking at the land route, Iraq, Syria, and Jordan lay between Iran and Israel, and all of them were Arab countries. In other words, there was virtually no way to transport Iranian oil directly to Israel. But to honor their friendship, a special pipeline was built. As you can see, Israel also has a port on the Gulf of Aqaba called Eilat. The pipeline began there and extended to Israel's port of Ashkelon. This project became known as the Eilat-Ashkelon Pipeline. It was built so that Iranian oil tankers could depart from Karg Island and sail into the Red Sea. From there, they would bypass the Suez Canal, enter the Gulf of Aqaba, and unload their oil at Israel's port of Eilat. Through this secret pipeline, Israel secured a steady supply of oil. At the same time, Iran gained an opportunity to export its oil to Europe. This was possible because Israel's port of Ashkelon is located on the Mediterranean Sea. From there, oil could be shipped to Europe without facing any obstacles like the Suez Canal.
This was not just a pipeline. It symbolized the brotherhood between Iran and Israel. Iran owned 50% of the project. Israel owned the other 50%. Both countries invested together to challenge the Arab world's oil monopoly. Their friendship was so strong that the Shah of Iran and Israeli Prime Minister Ben-Gurion held secret meetings. Whenever Ben-Gurion landed at Tehran airport, he wore a wig to avoid being recognized by the media. By 1970, Israel's trade mission in Tehran, which was effectively an embassy, was fully operational.
Israeli engineers, doctors, and military advisors were working there. Israel also taught modern irrigation techniques and advanced agricultural technology to Iranian farmers. The two countries even operated direct flights between them. This period is considered the golden age of Iran-Israel relations.
It was during this period that the Shah of Iran hosted one of the most extravagant and expensive celebrations in history. On October 26, 1971, the Shah celebrated his 52nd birthday, along with the 2,500th anniversary of the Persian Empire. For the event, an entire miniature city was built in the middle of the desert. A special runway was also constructed, costing more than $100 million at the time. Kings, queens, presidents, and prime ministers from around the world were invited. Food was flown in on private aircraft from the famous Maxim's restaurant in Paris. The Israeli Prime Minister was not invited to the celebration in order to keep the friendship a secret. Although Israeli leaders were not present on the stage, Israel's intelligence agency, Mossad, worked together with the Shah's security team to plan the event's security and ensure that no attack could take place. Even though the Israeli Prime Minister was not invited, it did not affect the friendship between the two countries. For the next several years, their friendship continued in the same way. But eventually, the day came when the friendship between Iran and Israel turned into hostility. During the 1979 revolution, Khomeini overthrew the Shah of Iran and transformed the country into an Islamic republic. As soon as he came to power, Khomeini declared that Israel was an enemy of Islam and that the Shah had been a traitor. A few weeks later, the Israeli trade mission was attacked and the Palestinian flag was raised over the building. On that very day, Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat arrived in Tehran. Khomeini announced that the building was no longer Israel's embassy, but the Embassy of Palestine. That was the moment when the story of Iran-Israel friendship came to an end. But for the time being, it was not completely buried. After the Islamic Revolution, the story took an interesting turn. A year later, when the Iran-Iraq War broke out, Iran found itself in desperate need of weapons. Once again, necessity brought the two countries together. Israel helped Iran during this period by secretly supplying it with weapons. Under Khomeini's leadership, the war lasted for 8 years, and weapons continued to arrive from Israel. Israel's advantage was that by supplying Iran with weapons, it hoped to weaken its neighboring Arab rival, Iraq. After the Islamic Revolution, Iran also dismantled many institutions established under the Shah. These included SAVAK, the oil pipeline partnership, and the Israeli trade mission. However, there was one thing that Israel and the United States had originally given Iran, which Khomeini decided to revive. It was Iran's nuclear program. When the Iran-Iraq War ended in 1990, Israel came to realize that Iraq was no longer the primary threat. Instead, the real concern was Iran's nuclear program, which was now in the hands of the Islamic Revolutionary government. From that point on, a shadow war began between the two countries. It is this shadow war that continues to fuel conflicts between them to this day. And that was the point when the friendship between Iran and Israel was finally buried for good. We hope you will give this video plenty of likes and shares as well. Thank you so much for your love and your wonderful comments. We'll see you again in the next amazing video.